5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, great flick on by Alan Armstrong. Oh, what a beauty! Oh, what a beauty! I waited all my life for that. What a screamer!
Can we have a round of applause for Rob Britner on guitar? Cheers, mate. Cheers for that. And I'll introduce the first most important guest, which is Nick Lee.
Very kind of you. How are we doing, folks? All right?
Round of applause for Nick Lee.
Well, we're going to bring you on, Dave. We're going to give you a hero's welcome and everything. It's not like you've just won a fucking title or anything, is it? Who's still pissed from Sunday, then? Yeah. Who's just about sobered up? Yeah. Who's seen a video of themselves running on the pitch and got very self-conscious about themselves? Yeah. The worst thing is, I got really drunk the other week and signed up for the Hatters Half Marathon. So, in about 3 months' time, I'm going to be that guy who died doing the half marathon. But my girlfriend thinks I'm going to die as well. She's convinced. She's like, "You're going to do some training," and she's just convinced that I'm going to. I say she thinks. I think it's hope. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Let's bring in the most important person in the show. Bloody hell, Russ. Can't get this.
We normally do this online, you see. That's why we can't do it like this. Can you be our sound guy?
You should do filthy stuff on the internet, don't we, Russ?
I can double as a sound guy.
So, the man whom without we couldn't do the show, and believe me, we've tried, and it was horrible. Give it up, everyone, for Russ Johnson!
Thank you very much, thank you. There we go, we got our roadie on the case. So, we are going to do... Well, we're going to chat with Dave, aren't we, obviously? We're going to do that for 45 minutes. Then we're going to have a bit of a drinks and toilet break where we'll do a raffle so you can win some free beer. So that's something to look forward to. We're going to introduce our shirt pervert, Ben, who knows far too much about shirts to talk about shirts. And yeah, it's what he does. So thank you for coming down, Ben. Appreciate that. Then we'll have Q&A from the audience, and then I'm sure, Dave, if you've not already signed loads of autographs and stuff, which I think you have, he'll probably do some more. So there we go. So yeah, and we're also streaming live, and we're going to record it and get all this out later. So if you want to wave to the camera behind you, you specifically, because you're right in front of me. I know you haven't. So yeah, should we get our guest on?
Might as well.
Right, introducing everybody, Dave Challinor.
Cheers, Ross, thank you.
So, do us a favour, just test your mic, because we're not very good at sound.
Hello, it's a bit low.
It's a bit low. Cheers, Bobby. There we go. Can you hear us at the back? Yes, we're getting thumbs up at the back, that's brilliant. Right, first things first, everyone's exhausted, probably anyone more than you. How is Dave Challinor?
No, Dave Challinor's fine. Really happy. I suppose unfortunately, you guys can probably enjoy it a little bit more. From our side of things, things move on quickly, and I've met players yesterday and met players today, and have to give unfortunate news, good news, and things move on really quickly and look towards next season. So as much as we'd love to bask in all the glory, unfortunately, professionalism-wise means we have to look forward very quickly. Hopefully in a couple of weeks or a week's time, maybe get a chance to sit on a beach somewhere with a beer or two and reflect what we've done. But for now, it's back to business.
Right, and I mean, in the whole run-up, because it has, I mean, everybody could probably agree here, it's been a bit stressful for us as fans, hasn't it? I think we can all agree to that. Has it been? Have you felt our stress feeding through in like the matches and stuff? Have you felt that?
Not really in the matches, to be fair. I think the support has been absolutely fantastic. I think that the biggest thing around supporters, and that's why I've tried to get it sort of across since I came into the football club. It's it's your football club, and that will always be the case. Managers will come and go, players will come and go. The biggest time when the players need you is in adversity, when things aren't quite going your way. Yeah. It's really easy as a player to play when you're 3-0 with 10,000 people at your back. It's a little bit more difficult to play when there's 10,000 people at your back that are a little bit unsure, when maybe you're 1-0 down. So in times when it has been like that, the support's been brilliant, and the players then, I was just talking to them about sort of losing games. The games you lose don't then become that damaging in terms of where you are mentally. But I totally get where the supporters are coming from. It's horrible. You have no control. I have a little bit of control. The players have got all this control in terms of what they go and produce on the pitch, but they've been brilliant.
But I guess going back to the original question, how are you feeling like in yourself? Are you okay, or have you got more grey hairs, or what's going on with you?
More grey hairs and a few more lines. But I feel great. I like to say that to come in when I did and achieve what we have has been brilliant. And the players take all the credit for that. Like I say, from my side, winning sort of promotions and getting out of this league was why I came here. Probably when I first came in and visited, it would happen in maybe a different way, potentially through the playoffs. So to have the run we've had and go up as champions, I know what it does for the football club, I know what it does for the town, and I know what it does in terms of the owners' plans, in terms of where the club can go now.
So that's how Dave Challinor is. How's Jeff Stelling?
You know what? Jeff is... Jeff's really a great fella, a great fella. I've nothing but good things to say about Jeff, and he'll take a little bit of stick and things, but for me and my family, he was brilliant with us, and he's the one person there in terms of off the pitch, if you like, that sends messages, good luck messages, always asks how we are. He obviously named one of his cats after me, which was a great honour. But he's a top guy, not just on the TV, everyone knows Jeff, but away from that, he's absolutely brilliant. What he does, he's like you guys. He loves Hartlepool United Football Club, and that is in his blood, just as it is Stockport County in your guys' blood. So I totally get where he's coming from. He's protective of that, as you all are, and as we all would be when there's something there that we have a real association for and love, to be fair.
Because I got to say, when the move came about, and Jeff Stelling was adamant that you were going nowhere, but anyone would do the same. You know, if that was us getting a manager poached, we'd be exactly the same, saying, "Oh, he's going nowhere." But I think most people have left him alone now, but there's still like 2 or 3 people just giving him stick on every tweet, taking it upon themselves to just ruin his life.
Yeah, there is, and he's great. And listen, Jeff completely understands and knows why I made the move that I did. He's, again, after I'd left Hartlepool, we've had conversations, and he was in a similar position in terms of his career and moving forward and things like that. And ultimately, you've got to make decisions that sometimes can be deemed a little bit selfish and suit yourself and suit your family, but that, again, is completely understandable. And I know where people are coming from, and I know there'll still be people who won't like it. Unfortunately, as a football manager, you do have to be really thick-skinned and understand that regardless of what happens, that worst case, best case scenario is that 50% of people like you, 50% of people don't, 50% of people agree with the decisions you make, and 50% won't, and that's the unfortunate nature of the job.
We wouldn't cope, would we, as football managers? Would we, us?
No. Football manager of the games is not for me. So the team that you inherited then from Simon Rusk, everyone? We call him Steve Rusk. Well, most people do. The team that you inherited then, how did you get them performing? Because we could see the change in philosophy right away, but they were still the same tools in the box. What did you do on like day 1, day 3, day 5 to get them playing like they were?
So straight away going in, we have I suppose a philosophy and identity of what we want the team and the players to do. You first have to find out whether they can do it. So my teams, I desire and want them to be high intensity in terms of out of possession and in possession. I think the football club demands that. It was similar as I went to Hartlepool. You've got a fan base of supporters that want to get behind the team. So in my opinion, playing at home when you've got 10,000 people in there, you have to be on the front foot and you have to get after teams. So you first need to look at whether the players can do that. I could see within a day that the players were able to do that. We wouldn't get we got the ultimate test, if you like, on game number 1 when you go into a team that are flying high in League One and you go in, I'm going to go and try and press with this team. That could have been disastrous. That could have been, as much as people said it was a free hit, going to Bolton with 5,000 of our fans watching and getting embarrassed wouldn't have been a free hit by any stretch. So we needed to, that was a good test for us. That gave the players reinforcement straight away. They could do it. They could do it at a higher level. And they got constant reinforcement from that, from getting positive results. It then just becomes a sort of case of ramping that up session by session. That, as you can see with the group we've got, they are a highly motivated group and want to be challenged. A lot of them have played higher. A lot of them have won things before, won promotions. And we just need them to buy into what we were selling, and they did that in a flash. And they've driven the standards. They've taken it on. We've given them a framework in terms of what we want. There aren't many occasions when I've had to give them it really in terms of what we've asked of them. They know when they've lowered the standards, which has been on very, very few occasions, and we know now that we're going into a league where we certainly can compete, but we'll need to get better at what we do in both aspects, and we're driven to do that.
Yeah, how would you say that the National League differs in terms of League Two in playing style? Because like you say, we could see it on game 1. Your philosophy is high press, like you said, counter press that. Did you have to mould them, and then are you going to have to do further moulding to fit your philosophy into League Two, or is it going to be straightforward for you?
Yeah, it'll be a step up on what we've done. So you see in League Two, similar to the National League, you need to look at the top 7 in League Two. You've probably got Forest Green, Exeter, who have gone up, who are footballing teams. Bristol Rovers, probably a good mix of both. Northampton, Mansfield and Port Vale, probably a little bit more direct, and Swindon are a footballing team, but all with different philosophies out of possession in terms of how they go about it. We've just got to be a better version of us, and the difference isn't massive. I truly believe that with the squad we have, with no additions, that we could be competitive and push for playoff places in League Two. I think with some really good additions, we want to be pushing and have ambition beyond that. It will take us to be better. You will get punished slightly more for mistakes, and on the flip side, if you're not as clinical as maybe what we should be, then you'll not win games. That'll be that's the I suppose the infinite difference, but it isn't huge.
Yeah. Okay.
So jumping back a couple of weeks to before the Bolton game, because we don't do things chronologically on here. That's far too professional for us. So going back to when you got the job, then how did the move come about at first? And was it a case of you applying, or were you headhunted?
No, I was approached and asked about the job in terms of where I was at. I was, like I say, settled where I was at Hartlepool, but straight away when my agent was asked, was I interested, then for me there was always going to be an attraction. I felt, like I said at the time, logistics for me being back at home was huge. A football club that everyone knows what the ambition and what the owner has come in and wants to do, the infrastructure that's set up in place. And I felt it gave me every chance to develop as a coach manager, and not almost have a glass ceiling in terms of where we can go as a club. That's proven to be the case so far. Once that happened, it then became obvious very, very quickly that the move was going to happen, and it happened in probably a day, just over a day. It was really quick, which for some people, like I say, at Hartlepool was a sting, if you like, which I totally get. But for me, it was a brilliant move, and one that's worked out really well up to now.
Yeah, should we take a vote on that, whether it's going all right?
Show of hands or claps? Yeah. So we're just going to dance around these questions because I tried to put in some sort of order, but it wasn't working, and I was a bit late last night. So I'm a football and tactics pervert. So we've got shirt pervert, tactics pervert. Which pervert are you, Nick? It's just a pervert. Yeah. So I believe I didn't really notice this time, but you like your 4-3-3 at Fylde and went back to 3 at the back at Hartlepool, and we play 3 at the back now. Which do you prefer?
I don't really prefer a specific system. Systems for me are about in possession, out of possession. So even playing a 4-3-3, it becomes about overload. So if we, without going into it too deeply, if we
go on.
If we're a 4-3-3 and I'll do it with the system we've got. If we're playing a 3-5-2 and we've got 3 at the back, and a team are playing 3 players up front, all of a sudden it becomes 3v3. We've got to try and make that 4v3. So we might do it by rolling a fullback round and shift it round to the left. We might do it by going round to the right, or we've done it at times where Ash is our centre, when we put him into sort of a midfield area and drop both fullbacks down. So you try and create overloads all over the pitch. So for me, it's about in possession, out of possession. So how can we go and press against the team high up to win the ball means we've got to probably have, at worst, 1 less than what they've got playing, and go and be positive and go and commit to doing that. If you don't, you'll get passed round, especially as you go through the leagues. So it's more just around overloads for me rather than systems, and we want to try and be on the front foot. That's why you'll have seen, although like Crosby is a defensive midfield player, and we almost play with a flat 3. They're the ones that set the tone for it in terms of being on the front foot. Our defenders then are high up the pitch. There's risk involved in that because I've been there. It's not very nice being stood on the halfway line knowing you've got 50 yards of spacing behind you with someone that can run. You don't want to get in races. So it's more than systems, it's more around overloads in and out of possession.
So is it more, well not more about, but there's a lot on fitness then, isn't there, and stamina. So does that, if you start off like that in a league and carry on all the way through to January, February, March, is there an element of risk that you overload the players? I know you've got a lot of depth in our squad, haven't we? But is that a risk that you take into consideration?
No, we try and minimise that risk by everything we do on a day-to-day basis is around load. So we know exactly what the players do and what their tolerance is in terms of match load. So with Jake, who's coming with me in terms of the S&C type of stuff, constantly we're monitoring what the players do. So they wear GPS vests every day. We will plan our sessions so we know that, for example, on a Monday, with it being a match day +2, it'll be a shorter session for the lads who have played. So they might look to do 3 kilometres of distance and 300 or 100 metres high intensity running. Tuesday in a normal week will become an extensive day with bigger areas because we need to cover bigger distance. Wednesday would be off. Thursday becomes intensive where you're still looking to get lots of accels, decels but over less distance. And then Friday becomes a prep day, if you like, for the Saturday. So that whole week from Sunday to the following Sunday is mapped out in terms of where we want to be, and we have to get the players will have again in the detail a sort of acute load and a chronic load which they can maintain through the course of the season. We control that so they get between 0.9 and 1.1 of that, so we know exactly what every single one of them has done, which then means we can control your muscle type injuries. We can't control contact injuries, they're part and parcel. So as best as possible we use scientific stuff to minimise that risk. There's always going to be anomalies in terms of we look at, I suppose, historic data around how many games players have played the previous season, what rest they've had, all those types of things. But as much as we can, we try and control it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody just takes stock of that. All what Charlie's just said then, can you imagine what 3-4 years ago we were training twice a week on a Thursday and a Tuesday, and now we've got like all this technology and all this backing. It's really, really pleasing to see.
So you've kind of got this, I don't know if that was for you or for us.
It was for Charlie, it wasn't for me.
So obviously, yeah, you've kind of got this, aside from your time playing with us at what was a tough time for the club, obviously you were with Fylde, you beat us several times with Fylde, beat us with Hartlepool. So the question, I suppose, is why do you hate us?
I was coming to Ainsley Park, to be fair, as an opposition manager. I was very successful. It's a weird one going back to your former clubs, because you'll always listen, regardless of what happens. You have fond memories of time, fond memories of teammates that you had here, and all those sorts of things. But you always want to go back and not justify yourself, but you always want to do well, regardless. As much as you think you go back there and you hope to get a nice reception, you ultimately want to win all the time. You want to win. So it was good. I had no issues at all with the football club, my time at the football club. But as you say, it was a time when probably similar to now in the completely opposite way. The football club was going through a huge change. A huge change. The football club was in the Championship. As it is now, there's miles better infrastructure in place and a better opportunity in place. Now we were a National League team, now we're a League 2 team, if you like, than what there was back then. That shows how far it's moved, and it's due to Mark Stock coming in and having a vision of where he wants the football club to be, and it gives us a real chance.
Well, you kind of touched on then your playing career with us. What was Carlton like?
Oh, interesting. It's again strange one really, because again as a player and was difficult in the fact that he was sort of player manager. What he did have, and I suppose if you take and you take things off different people, what he did have was a really good backroom team. So Kevin Richardson was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Colin Murphy was there, wealth of knowledge. Pruds was there. Bees was there. He had really good people around him, so he could carry on playing and be the extrovert that he was in terms of a character, allowed, and all those sort of things. And the rest of the staff sort of kept him in check, really, or kept him in check as much as possible. They were really solid pieces. Again, at the time, probably a similar thing as what I was told when I went to Hartlepool, and the fact people say you're not hiding to nothing. The way the club was, it lost players that had been at the football club for a long time, that had legendary status. It then becomes a difficult one. Again, more to recent times, it becomes a different one for Simon coming in when Jim leaves the club. You have to get over things, and sometimes it's harder to get over things than other times. One thing that helps you get over things quicker is success, and we didn't have success at those two times, which makes it really tough.
So, being from Chester, because that's what Wikipedia says, and it's what the Wikipedia's the truth. How did you feel getting one over on Wrexham?
Yeah, I was born in Chester.
Are you a Chester fan, or are you Liverpool? Or
you're
Liverpool fan. Okay, fair enough.
So I've lived around the area all my life. Chester, Wrexham, there's obviously a rivalry there.
Yeah,
Wrexham's really close, they're only 25 minutes away. Again, it's a similar sort of thing there. When you want to go there, you want to win. And I know quite a few Wrexham fans. So the two visits there, playing wise, weren't ideal, but I suppose we won the war. Which is was really pleasing. They put an unbelievable run together, and in any other season, either way, in any other season we'd have been champions 4 weeks ago, or in any other season they'd have been champions because of the run they put together. Thankfully, we've got over the line, and we can look at them sort of, and the other teams that are in the playoffs, go through horrible emotion to win one more place to join us in the Football League.
Yeah. Are you aware from a fan's perspective how much shit we're getting online from Wrexham fans?
That's always going to be the case.
I know, but it's
You personally, Russ?
Well, just us generally, yeah.
That's always going to be the case, because again, football is a game that brings out the best and the worst in us, and we all want to win. Yeah. We all want to be successful, and they'll know exactly the same, that they've put a run together that in normal circumstances would have won them the league. Their club, similar to ours, has been transformed in the last 6 months by investment from obviously 2 Hollywood stars who have been massive for them. They've been in this league, I think, 15 years, is it? Something like that. A huge amount of time, and a club of their size, as could be the case in the argument with Chesterfield and Notts County and all, deserve to be Football League clubs. The unfortunate nature of this league means that it's brutal to get out, and it's really, really tough. And with that in mind, there's always going to be a little bit of, I wouldn't say jealousy, but a little bit of, we're not happy with you going up, so we're going to give you a bit of stick. Like I say, I think you've got to take it, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be worth it when Solihull win the playoffs, though, isn't it, folks?
No, we definitely took it, especially at the 3-0 away in that way. That was tough to take. But did they, because they've got their investment and we've got ours, is there added pressure on us, on you as a team and a group of players to get up? Because next season's going to be, if Wrexham stay down, it's going to be even tougher, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's added pressure, because everyone that's come here, and I've spoken to this for the players really, everyone's has come here with the understanding of what's in front of them. There are some lads that we've got in our squad that have been here for a long time and have come on the journey for the Conference North and through that way. But the majority that have been brought in been brought in with the aim of getting promoted. They're not just getting promoted one division. They know what Mark's ambition is, and in order to be part of that journey for a long time, then you have to improve, and I include me in that. So I've managed 20 League 2 games and got an okay record. I've not done it over an extended period. If I want to be a League 1 manager, then I've got to be a really good League 2 manager and give myself the chance to do that. That's exactly the same with the players. And if they're not part of our journey, if you like, we've got to make them the best players they can be, because this shouldn't be as much as it's a great place to be and there's a real opportunity to move forward, this isn't the end goal. It's for them to play as high as they can. If they can play as high as they can and play as a championship player for Stockport County, that would be the ideal. And we've got to give them every chance to do that.
Yeah, and just going on to the National League North that you just mentioned, so there's 4 players that stand out. Well, there's 4 players, isn't there? Minion, Hinchley, Keano and Palmer. How do you feel they can step up to League 2, and will they get a chance in League 2? Yeah,
they absolutely can step up. I believe. They've got to show it, and we've got to show it. So, these are the conversations I've had with the players over the last couple of days. Really, there's 90% of the squad that you can look at it and go, there's questions to be answered there. And like I say, I include staff in that. So we've all got to get better together. There are some that have played, like I say, League 1 and League 2 for an extended period. So there maybe aren't many questions of them to answer. But with the 4 you mentioned, and with the majority of the lads, we've all got to improve, and there will be questions, which brings a little bit more pressure. But I've no doubt they've got the answers to them.
You had have you still got it, the long throw world record? We did a bit of research, and it's some Danish bloke who coaches throw-ins for Liverpool, because that's a job now, apparently.
Hey, don't knock it. I might be looking for that one day.
Look, is it true you did like a special challenge at Prenton Park for it?
Yeah. So many moons ago, this. I think 442 magazine were doing some links with different things. It was the physio at the time at Tranmere Les Parry. So they were doing the fastest physio in the league or something. They were timing him run however long he ran. So they then knew about me with a long throw. So said, would you give it a go, sort of thing. So one afternoon after we'd finished training, did it. I was probably there for, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes. But got the world record. They got Guinness along, so I've got a certificate on my wall in my football room. And it's something to be remembered for. I'm not sure it's the greatest thing to be remembered for, but it's best to be remembered for something than nothing, and I'll take that.
Well, when I told my dad you'd got the job, he said, "Oh, what, the bloke with the long throws?" So, nice one.
People are remembered for worse things.
Could be worse. But cause obviously you did the special challenge and what have you. Because we've seen Ben Tozer do them at the racecourse, and it was our undoing. But he can't do them anywhere. He's shit everywhere else at him. So do you want to kind of go outside now and we'll throw a kettle over the pub or something? And we'll give you another certificate.
I know, yeah. Long throws, they go in and out of fashion, don't they? One thing for certain, and we spoke about it in the game against Wrexham, regardless of how they play, you know that you're going to have to defend at least a dozen of them a game. And if you don't, then they're really good at it, especially with the likes of Palmer and Hayden, the people that are in there that are good aerially. They make it difficult for you. So, again, each their own. We probably wish we had someone that could chuck it in there as an option. Although Miles had a
Miles
few
had a go,
goals,
didn't he?
they were terrible, absolutely terrible. It's like, what was he thinking? Yeah, but we probably need work on that. It's made me feel a whole lot better because the way some of our throw-ins are taken, I was definitely underpaid.
That's one of my pet hates in football, that like when a player takes ages to take a throw in, but you look at them and think, do you know what you're doing? Like we're not so bad with them. We tend to keep possession. I think it's a hangover from the Jim Gannon era that we kind of always keep possession from throw-ins. But sometimes I watch Premier League games on telly. It's like, have you done this before?
I think in Premier League, the sort of unchallenged at our level, it's a little bit more difficult, if you like, because people try and stop you. But if you look at the amount of throw-ins that happen in a game, it's ridiculous. The ball spends more time off the pitch than it does on the pitch. So if you're not very efficient at getting it back on and keeping it, then you're in for a long afternoon.
Yeah. I've worked out what pervert you are. Squad number pervert, aren't you?
Yes. Well, because we've asked plenty of serious stuff. Squad numbers. I love squad numbers. When we got promoted back to this league, that was what me and Russ were most excited about.
Well, you were.
Well, you said on the podcast last night that you were as well. Well, this is it, Russ. You just agree with everything everyone else says, don't you? That's your problem, mate. So how much thought goes into... I appreciate no one gives a shit about this question, but I do. It's my show. So how much thought goes into it when you're doing squad numbers? Do players actually come up to you whinging like they do on Football Manager?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So a lot of them will have... So even today, Lando's come in and said, we're looking at kit coming back on start of June, whenever it is, blah, blah, squad numbers. I was like, can we not put initials just to get out of the way to start with? But straight away he said, Will Collar wants to keep 14. Crosby said, can he have 8 or 18? So they'll all have sort of numbers that they'll associate with and want to keep, if you like, especially if they've had good seasons and ditch them if they've had not so good seasons. But there will be, I suppose, some arguments when we start around who wants what number. I'm not sure it makes a difference. When you used to play, it used to want to be either number 2 to 11 or you weren't playing. So whereas now it can be anything. I suppose it's a little bit different. National League, I think you could only go up to 40, but you had to take the next number that was available. The Football League, God knows.
I get very triggered by Phil Foden and Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'm just like, 66 and 47, what are you doing, lads? Grow up. And they've both become established now. It's okay when you're in the youth team. Like, number 2 is free at Liverpool. Yeah. I just think, what are you doing, Trent?
Would you draw the line? Say if a player come up to you and said, I don't want 69, would you go, you're not having 69?
You'd say, how old are you?
Yeah, come on. yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
It's dedicated to the fans.
So yeah, I won't say quick fire questions, but who's the best player you've ever played with?
Ooh, wow, that is a quick fire question. Well, not very quick fire, could be all day. Probably time at Tranmere maybe. Jason Kumas was very good and you thought he'd go on. I think even coming here, there were players that you judge it on when you were playing here with them or what they went on to achieve. I think because when I was here, Ash Williams was here and Ricky Lambert were here, and you look at what they went to achieve in the game was amazing. Played with some brilliant players. Fortunate to do so. Those three sort of stick out, if you like.
So did you know when you played with Ash and Ricky Lambert, did you know that they could hit the heights that they did, especially with Ash Williams?
Ash was your sort of, I suppose, your typical non-league player. Came in from Hensford, sort of taking a chance on, and went on to have an unbelievable career. Still pops into Carrington, and see him again. I give him some sticks. He took my place, and I'm like. But he was absolutely brilliant. Ricky dropping down. He again falls into the category. Came into here and was a midfield player, and then got a move to I think Bristol Rovers. Played him as a centre forward. Scored 30 goals in one season and never looked back. It just shows how quickly it can change.
Yeah. What about played against? Because did you play in the League Cup final?
Yeah.
So what about played against then?
Yeah, played against is probably more not as difficult, but there are more names out there if you like. Because certainly with our runs we had at Tranmere, played against Shearer on a couple of occasions, Duncan Ferguson many occasions. Michael Owen, Andy Cole. Played in an era where reserve games were played at the ground, so Old Trafford, and we played in Roy Keane's comeback game. So there were some really good players. Fortunate to play against Premier League players, which I've got some shirts swapped in around my, I say pool room, there's a pool table in there, but it's just got all my shirts up really. It's a bit of a bar area, which are really good memories of some special times.
Do you ever like take tips of playing against them and add that to your coaching and add that to your sort of coaching roster?
Yeah, you'll take bits off all, whether you played against them, with them, or different bits off managers. I went back into Everton. Probably just before I came here, so 7-8 months ago, to do with the LMA with Rafa, and Duncan Ferguson was there, sort of thing. So even going back in there, you pick up different bits. I think they're all, regardless, you see all these Premier League players and managers that are all big names. They're all just human beings. They're really down to earth people.
Duncan Ferguson, human being.
Duncan's honestly.
Tell that to the burglar.
Exactly, you wouldn't. But put him on a football pitch and he wants to win, and he wants to win more than anything. He'll do whatever it takes to win. But away from it, as long as you can understand him, then great fella.
He sounds very much like me. I'm all elbows on the football pitch, mate.
All legs and elbows.
No, just elbows.
I'm all out now.
So we've kind of touched on it before when you're talking about the condition of players and stuff like that. But how does your physiotherapy help with that? Because obviously,
I did a physio degree while I was still playing. For me, it was around staying in football. So I loved the dressing room environment I was in, and loved that winning and the emotion and roller coaster involved in that. So I wanted to stay in football. So tried to get as many strings to my bow as possible. Got the opportunity to go into Colwyn Bay. Finished off through injury. Played for a season part-time, so couldn't play full-time. That job became available, and all of a sudden you got a manager's job. So I've not really used my physio stuff in terms of professionally, but it's still there. It still gives me an insight into what players are going through, how I can help. Probably for the physios that have worked for me, it's the worst thing that can happen, because maybe a bit reserved on telling me to shut up and mind my own business, and I'll have some more knowledge than what maybe other people will have, but I'm more than happy to be put in my place. I probably shouldn't be saying that on here, but I am more than happy to be put in my place. They're far more experienced than what I am, but it does give me a bit of an understanding, because what you want to do is have an insight into all them aspects of the S&C type of stuff. Although I'm not a professional in it and I've not done a degree in it, I want to know as much as possible about it. I want to use it to try and help me in terms of here and moving forward around how I go about my coaching and my management.
So when a player, if a player's coming back from injury, or he's got a slight niggle and then tells you he's ready to play, can you tell when they're bullshitting? Can you tell when they're not actually ready and they just want to get in the team again?
You can to a certain degree. What we do, and again, we will, regardless, we'll have to go through, they'll have to tick off protocols, which will mean they can come back training. So they will have to cover a certain distance, they'll have to cover a certain distance of high intensity running, they'll have to cover 90% or 95% of their top speed. We've got all that recorded, so unless they can tick those protocols off, then they won't be allowed back in, and then they'll do a return to play protocol, which will virtually be their match load in a training session. If they were fit, they wouldn't be able to produce that, so it's a little bit foolproof, as best it can be.
Yeah, because the body doesn't lie effectively, does it?
Mine does.
The mind does.
Yeah, and listen, we've had, without naming names, we've had an incident this year where a player came back, was massively motivated to come back, ticked boxes in terms of all those things, played a game, felt something, and didn't want to admit that he was feeling something, and we could tell he wasn't right, and then missed some more time, came back, and we go, he's a different player. He's the player that we thought he was. And that for him, I get it, but it'll be a learning experience that you're only best putting yourself out there if you're 100%, because you're only going to do yourself damage, and you're only going to do yourself misjustice in the fact that you can't perform to your best. There will be occasions where, again, if players come to us and say that I'm feeling this, but I want to do that, then we have to make decisions. There'll be some instances with the last game. If Sunday was a playoff final, there was nothing after it, there'd have been players who potentially we could have risked, we could have put in there to play, knowing that potentially they won't train for a week or a few days afterwards. Not at the risk of damaging them to any degree, but the touch and go as to whether you play them or not.
Yeah, and if you had a squad that wasn't as deep as ours, then you'd have to risk them as well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we did it with the deadline. We tried to bring in players that would cover all eventualities for us. We were lucky, touch wood, that we didn't have serious injuries. We had Maka, who'd missed out, who had a slight sort of setback. But the plan for Maka was to train the day before the last game of the season, with an eye on playing in the playoffs if they were needed. That didn't happen, thankfully. So now we can come off him a little bit, make sure he's absolutely bang on, get him a pre-season, and by the first game of the season he'll be back to his best, hopefully.
Yeah, more to go.
I think everyone stopped listening 5 minutes ago because I can see the cogs working. Everyone's trying to work out who that player was. It's a he, so that's narrowed it down.
Right, should we have a break?
Yeah, should have a quick break.
Yeah, we'll have a 15-minute break. We'll do the raffle for the free beer. But yeah, is there anything you want to say before the break?
Yeah, is there anything that no one's asked you about the last few weeks that you've been dying to say?
I don't think so. I think everyone's asked me just about everything. And I do rattle on a little bit about answers. So yeah, I think everyone's asked most things.
Okay, great. Round of applause for Dave, and we'll come back soon. Cheers, everyone.
This is the Scarf Bagara War, a Stockport County fan-created podcast, blog, YouTube live show and website. Find us at thescarfbagarawar.co.uk. For county fans, by county fans.
Right, if anyone has seen me do one of these before, you will know that I would talk at least until this time next week about each individual shirt, but I've been limited to about 20 minutes. So we'll make a start. What we've got is a selection of shirts from Dave's playing time with us, and then a couple from this season's, which we'll get to tell the stories on. So without further ado, Dave, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Excellent. Let's go back to when you joined the club, 2001-2002 season. Not a vintage season for County, and you make your debut for us away at Crystal Palace. We lose 1-0. Halfway through a 10-game losing run.
That wasn't a bad result, 1-0, I've got to be honest.
What are your memories of that day, and any memories of this shirt in particular? This is the shirt that you wore on your debut at Sellers Park.
Yeah, it was a strange season, like I said, because probably memories of the day, not so much, but memories of coming into the football club. I essentially came in the January when we got relegated, I think, in the February, with the lowest points total ever. I hope it's been beaten since, but I'm not sure it has been. And we were almost brought in with next season in mind. So the end of that season was a really young group going into some really tough games against difficult teams, having lost a whole load of them with not great confidence. So that season was more a case of getting out of the way, really, and trying to look forward to the following one. Thankfully, we had some memorable games at the back end of it, a little bit, which gave a little bit of hope back, if you like, and certainly for some young lads, there'll be memories they remember for life. But we were a young team competing in the Championship, which was a brutal league. I was sort of brought in with a little bit of experience, but when you look around us, we had a group of 19, 20, 21-year-olds that hadn't played league football before and were thrown in right at the deep end.
They were, and you're right, it was post-war low points total. I think we finished on 26, but going to memorable games at the end of that season, 20 years ago, unbelievably, in March, champions-elect Man City come to Edgeley Park. They need a win to win the league. We're already down. 5 minutes to go, City are a goal up. Unfortunately, it's not John Hardiker's shirt from the night. John does get 2 goals for us. Did you see that coming, or did you ever think that we could get a result here tonight, honestly?
We go into that game, we man-marked Ali Benarbia, and probably the biggest memory before that game was that in the dressing room, I'm not sure who was man-marking him, but Carlton couldn't say his name properly. It was Alan Bernard and on. So we were like, huh? So we ended up man-marking him, and we knew they were coming with a big portion of the ground filled with their supporters, like you say, champions elect. I've watched the game back and the highlights back, a game filled with, I think Stuart Pearce was maybe the captain on the night, filled with all sorts of names, and we were in the game. We were in the game at 45 minutes. We were in the game at sort of 70 minutes, and then I suppose at that point you do sort of dare to dream a little bit. We get one goal, the place absolutely erupts, and then John, as I said, in that season he came in from sort of non-league, and that was the start of his career, but that'll be ultimately the highlight of his career, a day he'll remember for the rest of his life, a day that certainly for Stockport fans, regardless of that season, remember for the rest of their lives, because you look where Man City are now and where we are, sort of poles apart. At that point we were, I suppose, on a levelish playing field. It wasn't the greatest of pitches, but we managed to get a sort of memorable win out of it.
We did. Ian, just for any City fans who are listening, of course, we played you 6 times, beat you 4 times. So it wasn't a one-off, and we did spend a year in the league above City in 98-99, but we won't dwell on that too much. So you talked about that season being a bit of a transition. Players, you know, like Mike Flynn, Colin Woodthorpe is another one who'd been at County for a few years. He moved on, and you know, a lot of the kids were coming through. Andy Welsh was probably one of the standout players. Keith Briggs was another. Ultimately, we go down. We're in what was still, I think, called the Second Division or Division 2 at that time. And we start off under Carlton Palmer in that league. It's ultimately a pretty forgettable season, fairly inconsistent. We flirt with the playoffs without really doing too much. That's Carlton Palmer's shirt from that season. But and that's also your away shirt from that season. You get your only goal for County. Do you remember that?
I want to say Luton away.
Luton away, last away game, 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Yeah, I only know because Kate was, my wife was pregnant with our first child, and she was sat with Aaron Lescott's dad, and Aaron Lescott's dad lifted her above his head when we equalised, and it was close to, I think it was right near the end of the game. So I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
And that season, like I say, we finished kind of mid-table, didn't really do a lot, but Luke Beckett was on fire that season. He got, I think, 30-odd goals, and you think, where would we have been possibly without Luke Beckett that season? How good was he as a striker?
Luke was brilliant. So he was a roommate of mine. Got on really well with Luke. He had that season, again, without knowing, if you look back, the amount of games that finished 2-1 and Luke scored the first goal, if you're a betting person, you've absolutely cleaned up. He was a brilliant finisher. You look at what he did, a lot of the times you look at it and go, that's lucky. He used to put the ball through goalkeepers' legs. I've lost how many times, but it was meant. He was a great finisher and went on to have a really good career. He was massive for us at that time.
No, he really was. And ultimately, the start of the next season, he does his cruciates and he misses the majority of 03-04. So moving into that season, that is Luke's shirt from 03-04, his home one, and the away shirt that's Carlton Palmer's away shirt. Ultimately, Carlton only lasts about 6 weeks into the new campaign. Did you see that coming, that Carlton was going to lose his job? It was a poor start to the season, mainly draws rather than losses. But yeah, did you see that change coming, and what was the mood like when he left and Sammy came in?
Yeah, it was tough because it was I suppose a really transitional time for the football club, and I think once we drop out the Championship, then it's the expectation in the next couple of years to get back in the Championship as quickly as possible, and things didn't materialise that way. So it is, again, as it is now, it's a results business, and if you don't get results, then ultimately the sword falls on the manager. So I don't think you see it coming, especially as early as it did. But a change was made. Obviously, then a new manager comes in, and there are different ideas in terms of where things go. I think from my side of things, managers normally want to bring in their own players. When Sammy came into the club, I almost straight away knew that my sort of, although I still had a contract there, that my days were sort of numbered type thing. And I was always one of them people that didn't want to hang around just collecting money. I wanted to play football. So it wasn't long from him being in that I went out on loan to Bury and eventually moved there.
Yeah, so Sammy's first game was the October. I think we drew in Notts County at Edgeley Park. Not long after that, we have a FA Cup horror show, first round. We go out to non-league. Stevenage. We lose 2-1 down there. And then your final game for County is away at Port Vale just after Christmas. We lose 2-2. So if you look at your appearances after Sammy came in, you appear less and less frequently. So how did Bury come about? Was that something you pursued? Did they come in for you?
No, they came in for me. Graham Barrow was the manager there, and I knew Graham. Ultimately, for them, they were in a similar situation. Had some younger players, and for me, especially that time, it was about playing. I wanted to play football. I wasn't one of them people that wanted to sort of sit around if there wasn't going to be an opportunity there for me. I didn't feel there was the opportunity regardless of what happened. So I went and played football there till the end of that season. I still had another year contract at Stockport, but like I say, it wasn't about that for me. It wasn't about money. It was about playing football. So I enjoyed my time there and moved on. And then spent the next 6 years, 5 years so at Bury.
Yeah. I mentioned one pretty unpopular sporting establishment a moment ago, Manchester City. Around this time, there was another one hovering in the background at Stockport County in Edgeley Park, and that was Sale Sharks. Brian Kennedy, Niels de Vos, and the rest of his cronies. How much of an effect did they have on County? Because they came in with huge promises. Pretty much instantly, the ground and the club were separated. It became a rugby ground. Admittedly, after you left, the likes of Ricky Lambert, Andy Welsh, Mark Bridge-Wilkinson, that whole raft of players were sold off seemingly for peanuts. Did any of that interfere with County at the time you were there, or was it a separate backroom club management thing to worry about?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it interfered, but we were very aware of it. So there were changes that went on in the behind the scenes in terms of at the ground, in terms of the changing rooms, in terms of all that type of things. I think we, at the time, they were in rugby terms, a big club. They had Jason Robinson, and they had some big, big hitters. So you could tell straight away that they were overtaking the football club. Although Sale, like I say, came in with promises of we're doing it for this to get a bigger crowd and all that. You could see we were getting pushed out, if you like. That's not an excuse. But I suppose when you've got a young group, that can have more impact than what you potentially see. From a football perspective, you try to stay out of it as much as possible. But certainly there was a good understanding of this. This didn't look great in terms of where the football club was going.
Okay. So, as we touched on, you leave County start of 2004. 17 years late. Well, in the interim, 17 years. You go to Bury, you go to Colwyn Bay, Fylde. You have huge success at Fylde. We play you a fair bit in the Conference North. Danny Rowe scores 1,000 goals a season for you. There's a bit of rivalry. Those trophy games were, really good spectacles. You go to Hartlepool, get one over us on us again. And then in November last year, you find yourself at County. Nick and Russ have touched upon what the club was like at the time, what you had to do to pick it up. But just before I finish, let's talk about the Bolton games. Probably the most famous game of our season, arguably. And one of the standout moments from that game was Ollie Crankshaw getting the fifth. What was that game like? We're 2 down after 4 minutes. That's not the plan, is it?
No, absolutely not the plan. Listen, I think that game, and I spoke about it before, about reinforcement of doing things that are right. I think when you come into a new club, you want to see what the players have got. And that game showed me exactly what the players have got, because they could have gone under. They could have gone under. Goals come at suppose, poor times in terms of the ones you concede, then you get one back, I think we're back in it, and then we see another poor goal, and the manner of the goals, even more so, are ones where you go, oh no, that's gonna hurt, that's gonna sting. For the players that are involved in them, the goal just before half time gives us a chance, and probably sends us into the break in a lot better mindset. But the second half was unbelievable. The performance that they put in the second half was amazing. And from a neutral, if you're watching that football match, that had absolutely everything. Forget, like say, who you support. For an FA Cup tie to have that drama within it and go to extra time and all those things was massive and massively important when you look back on it now in terms of going into the club and inheriting a group of players. For them to go and have that and give them that boost so early into me being there, I think has played a huge part in where we are now.
Absolutely, and it did the same for the fans. That, you know, we don't want to dwell too much on what came before, but under Rusk at the start of the season, it was so flat. A lot of the enjoyment had gone and it became a bit of a chore, and it seemed to overnight with the Bolton away game we got a lot of that back. With the Bolton home game, it was like the previous, you know, we've been away for COVID for over a year, like it never happened, and it felt like County were back. Particularly Ash Palmer's goal, the third one. I say that I've been going County 29 years, that's in my top 3 goals of all time for the moment. What's been your favourite County goal? Other than maybe 2 on Saturday, on Sunday, which got us up. What were your favourite goal or favourite County goals since you've been here as manager?
Favourite one's a tough one. I got asked this question the other day. I suppose significant ones that you look at maybe over, because we've scored some brilliant goals, and you can reflect on Will's 25-yarder at Altrincham where you're going, how's that gone in? But there are some big ones. I think early in my reign here, you look at the Bolton game, but a league game, Paddy's goal at Solihull, winning 1-0 away, was a big goal. The home game against Woking, another one of Ash's headers, where we're down to 10 men, the game's 0-0, we bring, I think, Ollie and Noobs on and go really positive, and we win that game 1-0. And then and there was a funny bounce on Ash's goal, to be fair. I think the Woking guy, Casey, could have cleared it off the line. And then there was another funny bounce with Paddy's goal at Solihull at home in the last minute. So
with the Beaver?
Yeah, so they're the ones that probably jump out as in important goals at important times that get us 1-0 wins. And then 1-0 wins over the course of a season are or seem to be the important ones that allow us to go into the last 2 games able to get 4 points to get promoted, if you like.
Yeah. I always ask players or managers this kind of question. That throughout the Football League for 11 years, we've had a pretty dismal 11 years in those time, and to be honest, the majority of the 20 years prior to that was pretty dismal as well. Do you appreciate that? You know, you've been a player. Do you appreciate the kind of the weight of the importance of what it means to the fans and the town, and what it means in our lives, and how do you get that across to the players, just how important Stockport County getting back in the Football League is?
I do appreciate it, and I think I appreciate it more through spending my time at Hartlepool, because Hartlepool is as what Stockport is. The football club is the town. It's in the centre of the town, and people's lives are dictated through how they live their week is dependent on what happens on a Saturday. And that's exactly the same here. This is just a bigger version in terms of a town with the amount of people here. So the impact it had on people's lives was probably opened up to me when I was there. When I came here, that's why I spoke about this is, like I say, is people's clubs, is people's livelihood, is everything. It belongs to the community. They play a big part in that. And if we can get the 300,000 people in Stockport all pulling in the same direction for their football team and football club, when you've got an owner that actively wants to get it up the pyramid and make it successful, then I think you have a real good chance. And I completely understand what it does and what it means. Nowhere near as much as what you guys do. So for us, it's great that we can play a part in that and bring back that little bit of belief and a little bit of optimism. And don't get me wrong, there'll be bumps along the way. There'll be nerves along the way, there'll be adversity along the way, but I think we're on to something really, really special, and that will be, from my side of it and the player side of it, that's a huge privilege to be involved in it.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Stockport County are 140 years old next year. In that time, we've only ever won 5 league titles. We've had 5 managers: Bob Kelly, Bob Blacklin, Jimmy Meadows, Jim Gannon, and we've now got Dave Challinor as the man who took us back to the Football League and gave us our 5th ever league title. And I think for everyone in Stockport, thanks very much, Dave.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is the Scarf Bagara War, a Stockport County fan-created podcast, blog, YouTube live show and website. Find us at thescarfbagarawar.co.uk. For county fans, by county fans.
Questions from the audience, but I've got to say, either I repeat the question or you come up and ask it yourself. It's up to you. Do you want to come up?
The one thing, it's not a question, it's a statement. Thank you very, very much for what you've done for the club, and I hope you're going to stay with us for a long time.
So do I. It might be my choice though.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? I've got a question for that we've not already asked Charlie. Come on.
Someone's got to be asked that.
No, it's
Get so good at this, Russ.
Anybody? No? We'll just let Charlie go then if no one's got a question. Come on, you must have a question. Come over here. What's your opinion on Macaulay South for males?
Lap dancing skills or football?
Yeah, lap dancing skills or Macca, yeah.
Macca, as a real child, Macca at Hartlepool, I made no secret of the fact that we wanted to take him, and he chose to come here. So, and there's a few like that, to be fair. So whether they were a bit scared when I came in and thought I was going to get my own back on him, I'm not too sure. Macca's perfect for what I want fullbacks or wingbacks to be, in terms of really high intensity, really aggressive, gets forward, delivers the ball with real quality. Him and Ryan Rydell were, although, like I say, the midfield 3 were massively important, they were the big creator of all our goals. We'll cross the ball an awful lot, and again, it probably got lost a little bit that our not drop off, but we were scoring really frequently and winning games comfortably, scoring lots of goals. We then lost both of them to injury at an important time, and it changed the dynamic in our team. But Macca can play in League 2 easy, he can play in League 1 easy, he can go and achieve whatever he wants if we can keep him fit and keep him on the pitch.
Nice, that's encouraging, isn't it? Bobby, come on.
You have to use one of these, don't you? 1, 2. What is, maybe as a player or a manager, what's the most intense atmosphere you've ever played or managed in as a ground? What was the most mental atmosphere?
Tough one. I've played in some big games with big meaning. It's strange. You've gone from, as a player, playing in big games with big crowds, and played at St James's Park in FA Cup in front of 40,000-50,000 at Newcastle. It's weird. You then go polar opposite. We've gone as football people from playing in front of that to playing in front of no one. I think just to have crowds back in the ground has been massive. In terms of types of games, probably looking back, crowds coming back in, and what was on the game, the Hartlepool playoff promotion final at Bristol. I think there was only 7,000 in that ground, but with having supporters back for the first time, or one of the first times, to be able to go there, the atmosphere in there was ridiculous, and the way the game went, that was another one similar to the Bolton game, had everything. But I think you look at what you guys have created in the past 4 to 5 months. We look back on it, mentioned it today, funny enough, in our past probably 4 games, the players have played in front of 40,000 people in total. That, for some of the young ones, is a massive learning experience. They played in some atmospheres that I don't see it gets any better than what it was Saturday. To be able to almost play in a game and almost enjoy the last 15, 20 minutes knowing you're going to win a league title is something that may never happen to them again in their lives. So, like I say, it's been brilliant, and we know what especially the evening fixtures at Edgeley have been like. I think the Bolton one was special. It's more special when you've got an away crowd in. You've got that banter between people. Go back to the Chesterfield game was similar. When that away end's full and people are bouncing off each other, it's a great place to play.
I remember us losing to Brackley 1-0 and they had 7 away fans.
Yeah.
And they were conga lining along the railway.
That was a low one.
And then you go to games like, that was bad that. And then games like Bolton and Chesterfield, I absolutely agree. Seeing the away end full, already I'm more excited about the game. Definitely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to go off on a little tangent, because it wouldn't be this show if I didn't. I've been using my investigative skills. Burnley scored on there, and there was a chair at the front of the pub. So if you are keeping an eye on your valuables.
I like it. Anyone else want to ask Charlie a question? Yeah, mate. Just one.
Heard on the show yesterday that you get fringe players like Alex Reid, we'll use him as an example. He don't play much, but does he have much of an effect on the dressing room and motivating players and all that, and other players like him that maybe don't get as much play time, but do they have that effect on the dressing room that's positive?
Yeah, everyone, and this is where it works with the game, the way the game is now. Everyone has an impact. Some will feel they have a bigger impact than others, but everyone has an impact. So whether that's on a Saturday, a Tuesday, a Monday to Friday at Carrington, what they all have to do, we have to try and manage the players that aren't playing, because they all want to play, they all back themselves to play. Unfortunately, on a Saturday, we can pick 11 and 5 subs. Fortunately, now we can pick 7 subs, which helps it, makes it a little bit easier. But everyone's important. Everyone will play their part to different degrees. That's like I said, that's a really good group. Unfortunately, at the end of the season, a group has to evolve, and there are some move away through our choice, there are some move away through choices of their own, and there are other players come in. What we have to do is make sure that group's as strong in terms of morale, in terms of spirit, as it was this year, because that's something that we pride ourselves on. The players taking the lead in that, to be fair.
You mentioned the 18-man squad in League 2. What's it like with registration for League 2? Because isn't that something with a certain number of over 21 players?
Yeah, so you can, we're checking, but going off last year, whether it was just, you name 25 players on your squad list. A certain amount have to be homegrown, which means they've been through an academy system in England, so not particularly with us. If you have a club developed player, you can then have the extra sub. So we're hoping that from our perspective that Cody's the club developed player, because he's been with us more than 12 months. Out of that 25-man squad, under 21s don't count. So within that, at the moment, we've Cody, we've Ryan Rydell, and we've Ethan Pye, and goalkeepers aren't included. So in the grand scheme of things, your squad can be as big as you want, but 25 that are over 21 and not goalkeepers.
It's really encouraging that we'll see a bit of Cody as well, because it's alarming how much love I've got for a 17-year-old lad. really good. I saw him at Wrexham and he walked past me and it just made me feel even worse about what I look like.
He's done brilliant. He's got a really good background with his family, really supportive. He's made the leap to come out of his college programme and be full-time with us, so he'll spend pre-season with us. We hope that potentially we get involved in some Papa John's games, potentially at the start of the season. We'll review where he's at and make a decision probably around January whether he can go and get some games or whether he can impact us, but there's really positive signs. He's fitted into the group really well, and is really well liked.
The Papa John's is the auto glass for anyone else who's still living in the 90s.
Yeah, sorry.
Have you had any contact with any new players or anything? I know it's a bit early.
Like the 19 we've been linked on Twitter.
Yeah, just getting a bit giddy out of all
no,
the people we're seeing.
we have. There's been the positive that's here with the infrastructure in place is that's an ongoing thing. So there were players that we were interested in January. We were interested in players coming up to the deadline. Lots of our stuff, you have to make different plans based on the league you're going to be in. But we will strengthen. Like I said, the squad is a strong squad, and in my opinion can compete in League Two. But from our side of things, we want to really carry momentum forward and look to bounce through this division. And if we can strengthen, then we will do that. So there's lots of contact. The big thing, especially with this club, is getting the right players here for the right reason. And a lot of that is filtering out the ones that aren't going to improve us. They need to improve us, and they don't just need to improve us in terms of on the pitch, they need to improve us off the pitch in terms of what I said previously about the dressing room.
Great stuff. Yeah?
If you were to have stayed at Hartlepool, do you reckon they'd have been so far down at the table that they would have been?
It's easy to say yes, isn't it? Or no, to suit myself. We were in a position where it was unique, so we finished that promotion final on the 20th of June. The players had played all the way through. We had to give them 10 days off, and we started a pre-season, and they had a 4-week pre-season, and we had to organise on the back of not having any games arranged going into a Football League campaign. So to be 10th was a brilliant effort. I probably knew, and no surprise, that a lot of those players were the same squad. We lost players. We lost our 2 centre forwards who'd scored close to 40 goals, who were a huge threat. So that we weren't as strong as what we were the previous season. But them lads have been going for close to 24 months in terms of playing football. So there was always going to be a fatigue element, and I think injuries didn't help what was a small squad, and ultimately they dropped down the table. But before the season started, as much as they'll have wanted to push on from the position they were in, staying up in that first year was always going to be success because of, like I say, such a late finish and such an early start, and us not having a squad in place. So I think it was inevitable without it. But we'd obviously done everything we can, and I think for them staying up was the ultimate aim, and they achieved that.
Nice one, cheers. Anybody else? Oh, I know.
So when you come in, you talked about how playoffs were the priority. When did the staff and the players start to talk about the fact that we could actually win the league?
We didn't see the playoffs as a priority. We felt that we didn't certainly go to the playoffs. We just want to get in the playoffs. I think you look at things and think, look where we are, look at what we need to do. Fundamentally, we need to win football matches. I don't think anyone ever envisaged we'd win 20 out of 21. You look at over the course of 44 games, we drew 4 games. That's like ridiculous. We probably lost too many. I think we lost 10, which is probably more than what teams have done over the last few years. There's a plan set in place at the start of the season which was based on 92 points. As it worked out, 92 points would have won us the league, but it was 27 wins, I think 10 draws and 7 losses. Well, we had too many losses, if you like, but the amount of draws or very few draws that we got meant we won 30 games. 30 games is a ridiculous amount of games to win out of 44. So once we put that run together, all of a sudden we just started picking teams off. And when teams had games in hand, if you like, so there was one point where Boreham Wood, I think we were in front of them, but they had 5 games in hand. They're always going to catch up. And when you get towards the back end of the season, games become more difficult to win. It got to a point where you're almost looking at it and thinking, well, it could happen then, it could happen then. It's never that easy. We had to try and detract from players almost thinking like that. But we knew there was a definitive amount. There was a target there that was on the board. We were almost working backwards from that target, really, in terms of goals scored, we overachieved. Goals conceded, we overachieved. Goal difference, we'd put plus 38, we ended up plus 49. Clean sheets, we'd looked at 18, we got 23. So all the boxes were ticked in, and ultimately that meant success.
Cool. Any more before we wrap up and let Charlie go? Yeah, of course.
Okay, so we used to, you're kind of doing all the footballing decisions and making all those choices, and you talked about the squad and changing the squad and the shape of it and everything. mindful of the kind of retain list and all that kind of stuff, it's also about dealing with people and people's lives and all those kind of things. How do you find the people management of it, kind of in contrast to the football tactics type decisions and things?
I've got a lot better at it. I think, it's the modern game. Football's changed. I grew up in a changing room where it was brutal, absolutely brutal. And my first club at Tranmere was full of experienced players, and football was completely different then. But it made me what I am in terms of character, resilience, all them things. And I still think there's a place for that, because I think, without it sounding too much for the younger people in here, people are mollycoddled and it becomes a little bit too easy. But management of players who are very different is a challenge. You need to understand the individual, and we try and get across to the players that are on the pitch, the experienced ones. You need to understand which ones can take a bit of a bollocking and which ones you have to sort of try and encourage, because ultimately you get the best out of them and you benefit. So there's 11 players on the pitch that, if we get the best out of all of them, we give ourselves a really good chance. That's the responsibility of the people on the pitch as well. But I think what you've got to do is earn respect, earn trust, know that people can ask you questions. People go through different things on a football pitch, but most of the stuff's spent away from the football pitch, and away from that, and what goes on in their private lives and how they are within themselves is a massive part of it. We're helped by the fact that I've got a really good staff, and ultimately a really good group of players that look after each other and want the best for each other. So if there's anything going on, we know that we can get through it together. But back to your question, it is the most important part of management in the current climate, in the current game.
Good stuff. Anybody else before we wrap up? Okay. I haven't got like a rousing speech that gets a round of applause at the end. Where's Ben? Ben can do that. Where is he? No? Oh, do you want to come and do a rousing speech? No? Go on then, Nick, you do it.
Thank you so much to everyone for coming tonight. Thank you to the people at King's Tap. Thank you to the FanHub guys. If you're not on FanHub, then what have you been doing here for the last 2 hours? Russ is quite high up in FanHub.
Quite high up?
Yeah. That's what I tell people.
No.
When they go, why are you always on about FanHub? I say, Russ is quite high up. So I've got a list of people to thank anyway. If we could get the people up on stage who've helped us make this night. So Penno, give it up for Penno. Up we get, come on.
Go on, go.
Tom Walker. Give it up for Rob Britner. UB.
I've been Russ Johnson.
I've been Nick Liam. We'll probably continue to do that, won't we?
Yeah, we'll probably do that.
A couple of weeks off.
Yeah.
But most importantly of all, the champion himself. Give it up for Dave Challinor, folks.
Thank you very much, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers. We'll see you in a few weeks.
Cheers. Thank you.